Hello, good afternoon. My name is George Ray, and I am a consultant with FIU Small Business Development Center. I specialize in startups and franchising, but also dabble into a little bit of government contracts. We're so happy to have you here today. Please take a moment and complete the polling questions at the beginning of our presentation. Also with me today is our expert PTAC consultant, and PTAC stands for Technical Procurement Assistance Center, or Procurement Technical Assistance Center. Joining us today is Luis Bautista. He's the rock star in our Center for Government Contracts. He is our subject matter expert. So welcome, Luis.
Yeah, thanks, George. I actually have been with this SBDC for about 8 years, been working with George. It's been a pleasure. George works primarily with local and state government, where I deal primarily with the federal government. The Procurement Technical Assistance Center has 700 consultants nationwide, and we do specialize in government contracting. I specialize, as I said, primarily on the federal level. We're going to go through this presentation on networking. That's probably the best practice in procurement is networking, and you're going to hear that over and over again. And that's with potential private contractors that you could subcontract with, team with. There's a mentor protege program that we may or may talk about here. But I'll let George get started with the presentation, and I'll jump in once in a while with some input.
All right, so we'll go ahead and get started now. We'll hop into our first slides just momentarily. We'll start with the polling questions. Hopefully you all have taken enough time to complete those questions, and we're going to go ahead and hop right into the presentation. So let me see if we can get the polling questions off of our main screen. Brianna, I think that the intro poll questions has the presentation side locked up. All right.
Give it a try now.
Yeah, I can't make any moves. Let me try to stop share for a second and go back in and see if that works better for us. Okay, so we're going to try this one more time, and I think we're off to a good start. So I've been with SBDC, as Luis said, for about 8 years now. I specialize mainly in startups, professional food service, developing early growth strategies, mainly in the franchising space, but I do dabble in government contracts. So the SBDC is largely funded in part by the SBA in conjunction with our local institution and some community partners. So government contracting is can be very lucrative. I personally have government contracts, and once you start, if you do a good job, you'll be rewarded handsomely. So the technical procurement, the Procurement Technical Assistance Center is largely funded in part by the Defense Logistics Agency, and Luis is the PTAC representative. Like I said, he is our subject matter expert on government contracts. He's phenomenal in what he's done so far. He has a track record of demonstrated commitment to producing results for clients. I just want to say to you, as we get into my presentation, that if you are interested in government contracts, this is a long game. There is no magic bullet that allows you to just get a contract and be successful. It is very difficult. There is a lot of competition. So doing due diligence and research is critically important and a very important part of being successful in obtaining awarded government contracts. So here at SBDC, our primary service is to provide you with one-on-one business consulting. One of the most popular services that we offer is access to capital. Everybody wants money and they need financing for their business. Also, we dabble in international trade, marketing, growth strategies, government contracts. We are pretty much a full-scale, in my opinion, we're like a think tank for small business. And we have dedicated business consultants. We all have expertise in various disciplines and years of experience. So it is a great way to reduce your risk exposure when starting a business or when you're trying to expand your business. It's always good to talk to someone who knows what they're doing, who can give you expert advice and opinion on business. And that's what we try to do. All of our consultants, I would say, are very dedicated to their job. They enjoy what they do, and they're very competent and capable of assisting you with your needs. So we don't really advertise ourselves as much, but the proof is in the pudding in terms of what we do. We've been mentioned in Shark Tank and just about everywhere. We are the big secret. So Florida SBDC, our network, I won't really go over all these numbers with you, but I'll just start with the top one. We generated over $1.3 billion in additional sales revenue throughout the state of Florida and beyond. So we really pride ourselves on some of the numbers that we're able to push out and tout. 123.3 million in government contracts, access to capital. So our consultants are working every day, particularly in PTAC, to ensure that our clients receive government contracts, and we try to steer them in the right direction. So here's our team. We have a team that is a melting pot and array of diversity in terms of our team. And that's what makes us so unique, our approach to doing business and helping provide expertise and consulting advice. We have, as I said previously, consultants from every business discipline, and we're able to really give you expert advice on how to grow your business. And we don't really have a vested interest in your business, so we can give you our honest opinion on things more transparently than someone who may want to tell you what you want to hear. Sometimes we tell you what you don't want to hear, but it's only to make you better. So we cover Miami-Dade County and also Monroe County. This is our team in Monroe County who's dedicated to producing results. So we cover a very large swath of territory, and our executive director is Brian Van Hook, our regional director. And our admin team works very tireless in terms of producing quality events. I want to give a special shout out right now before I get deeper into my presentation to Brianna Williams, who is our event manager and coordinator. She does a phenomenal job in ensuring webinars like this happen. And most people don't understand, the work that goes into producing events. They just show up, but she certainly makes sure that it all happens. So looking at this next slide, work smarter, not harder. It's very important to understand strategy as it pertains to getting to the finish line. Now, and when you're heading in the right direction, there's really no need to rush. Focus on being great at what you do, refining your skills. I think the best marketing comes from your ability to really deliver services or products to a customer and make them satisfied and have them talk about it in a positive way. So we'll go on to our next slide here. The 6 steps, getaway. I can't really see what that's. Yeah, the 6-step getaway. So here you go. These are very important steps, I think, in pursuing government contracts. Evaluate, okay? What kind of contract is this? What type of path will this particular contract take me down? Every contract is not the one you want or that you need for your business, okay? Some contracts can take you out of business before it puts you in business. And it's very important to understand that not every opportunity is one for you. It's almost like ideas in business. Every good idea is not necessarily transferable as a good, profitable idea in business. So it needs to be properly vetted. So strategically, you really have to think critically about the opportunities. Are you prepared for this opportunity? If you're not ready for the opportunity, but you're going after the opportunity, people will notice, hey, this person's not ready, and they may not take you serious. So it's very important to make sure that you're ready for what you're trying to do. To give you an example, make sure you're properly capitalized if you're going to get government contracts. Make sure that your bonding capacity is where it needs to be. Make sure you have the staff that you need, or that you can access these things. Access capital very fast, access human capital very fast. Planning is very important. If you don't have a plan, you plan to fail. So develop your plan for entering the government marketplace. So what's your objective? Are you trying to scale up? Register, complete the required business registration process with SAMs. So that right there also requires some level of preparation. Develop marketing tools and secure certifications. Hub zone certifications. I think it kind of ensures business, also 8A, but you have to be ready for these type of programs. We'll talk more about these programs and certifications later on in my presentation. So pursue what you want. Find, select, and pursue government opportunities, but make sure you're ready for those opportunities that you're pursuing, okay? That you've done the legwork, you've done your homework, you reviewed the RFPs, you know what type of scope of services are expected. You have a ballpark figure of the numbers you need to come in at. These kind of things are critically important. And make sure that the technical aspect of your contract you submit has all the required and necessary information. Some people, they are capable of getting the job done, but they have not filled out the paperwork properly, and they're promptly denied. So achieve, win, support, operate contracts, and win more business. So sometimes it's better to not be in competition with other businesses, but maybe even in collaboration with them when it comes to government contracts. But it is highly competitive. And
George,
go ahead, Louis.
let me jump in here for a minute while you get the presentation back up. Every single business industry is going to be a little different. As far as entering the federal system, there are some must-dos, right? You need to be in the system for ward management. That's where they're really integrating most of their systems. They're halfway through now. All of the opportunities, all of the entity histories, that's where you would register. And every certification has a benefit in some areas more than others. If you're a service-disabled veteran-owned small business, and you happen to be in construction, medical, or information technology, then you're in luck, because you know the Veterans Administration has something called based on the Kingdom Ward decision, where they have to buy from service-disabled veteran-owned small businesses first. In the federal government, they also set aside for women. They set aside for small business in general, and for hub zone, and then there's an 8A. And 8A is actually a business development certification, which you actually may have heard about. And that's great. An 8A is fantastic. But an 8A doesn't do you any good if you don't have some performance history, because the benefit of the 8A is that government can directly award you up to $4 million, up to $7 million in construction, directly award, no competition. But who's going to do that unless you have some performance history? So you want to establish performance history first before you get the 8A. If you're one of those companies that already have the 8A, we have a way to address that, and you can reach out and I'll share that with you. And I'll turn this back over to George.
Yes, so Louis, he basically highlighted some very important and pertinent points. We'll cover more of that later on in our presentation, but I can't reiterate what Louis just stressed enough in terms of being ready for certain programs, because you're all but guaranteed business. But if you're not ready for that business, the opportunity will pass you. So evaluating is very, very important. First, you need to ask yourself, is government contracting the right path for you? It's very tough to get in, but once you get in, things can be very beneficial for you. The reason is because business to business can be expensive, very, very expensive. I can't stress that to you enough. Competition depending on your product. Before you can get started, let's cover some key questions you need to ask yourself before diving into government contracts. So what size contract can you handle? Okay, if you bite off more than you can chew, you probably will go out of business, okay? Also, when it comes to government contracts, not just government contracts, any business can fail due to undercapitalization, particularly in the startup phase. I'm a startup expert and consultant, and I would just say that the majority of small businesses fail within 3 to 7 years, or I would say 3, 5, or 7 years of starting, and it's because of undercapitalization. Now, add on the layer of bureaucracy with government contracting, and there may be some scheduling and payment delays, okay? If one person from that department takes off a vacation and the finance department takes off, then you may not get paid for 60, sometimes 90 days. I mean, it could be 120. However, if you have employees, you're going to be responsible for making sure they get paid. So being properly capitalized is very important. With government contracts, you don't necessarily have to worry about if you're going to get paid, but sometimes you have to worry about when are you going to get paid. So make sure you don't bite off more than you can chew. So how many proposals can you really handle? Okay. Very important. Inexperienced novice who try to go after government contracts, you can tell they're not ready. I've sat on screening and review committees in the past, and essentially all the paperwork is not filled out appropriately. The scope of services is not as detailed as possible. And what happens is, if you've seen this on the screening and review committee, if you've seen that same company again, you're probably not going to take them as serious. So I would advise you, if you're going to go after government contracts, make sure that you're ready and that you're well researched on what you're doing. So evaluating is very important. How many more employees can you add? Having human capital and finding the right human capital right now is critically important. It's hard to find good people. So making sure you work out all your system gaps and kinks if you're new to this or your business is new is critically important, because if you get a big contract, you're expected to perform. If you perform well, you're probably going to get more contracts. But if you don't perform well, that'll probably be your last one. So I would say make sure that you're ready. I can't stress that enough. How many more products and services can you create and deliver? Yes, you want to scale, but sometimes you can grow too fast. And that right there within itself can harm your business more than it helps your business. So make sure you do due diligence. So evaluate. What if you win the contract? Oh, wow, congratulations, you've now won the contract. What if you lose the contract? How will you handle that? Well, I'll give you some tips on how to handle that later on in our presentation. I'm sure Louis, he has something for you as well. So what is the right opportunity? Which you can afford to win or lose without derailing your company? Can you walk away even up to the proposal due date? So you want to make sure that you really research things. What does winning this contract build towards for your business? So you need to understand how this particular contract strategically helps you out. If you're, I'll give you a hypothetical example. Let's say you have a cleaning company. All right, the portfolio of the majority of your business is residential or commercial office buildings. All right, that's 90% of your portfolio. And now you have a government contract. This government contract is going to require you to double your staff. And now 50% of your business is coming from government contracts. You may get paid slower, but your employees are still obligated to work and perform on that contract for you with the government. How do you handle things like that? So strategically, you have to plan these things out and position yourself in order to grow and win, and make sure you have the right human capital and the right financing to really be capable of getting the job done and being successful. Don't bite off more than you can chew. That's the biggest thing I want you to take away from evaluating. So what is your niche? Very important to have a niche. Your past performance, it speaks for itself. Sometimes the introduction precedes who you are in terms of your work product. If you do good work, you don't necessarily have to advertise it as much. People will advertise it for you, particularly people who are satisfied with the work you've done. So past experience is very important, and past performance. Sometimes past performance wins out in contract bidding. It's not the person who came in the lowest on the bid, but sometimes it's the person who we know can get the job done, who has that experience. So geographical focus areas is also a way to go about doing things. Socioeconomic statuses, you know, if you want to be a sub, if you are a women, minority-owned business, a veteran-owned business, a services-able veteran business, these things, they matter in the process. Small business size standards, who do you know? Who do you know can affect how long your money grows? So making sure you use your resources appropriately certainly does help. The bottom line, don't think about government contracts as what they will get you. Think about what they will cost you, okay? So you have to have a strategic focus. If you don't plan, you plan to fail, okay? If you don't plan, you plan to fail when it comes to government contracts. So there's a lot of unique opportunities out there, and it's very important for you to do research so you'll know how to develop your niche and where you should search for these government contracts. It's not going to come to you. You have to go get it, all right? And part of that is really just doing due diligence. I'll share with you some recommendations later on in my presentation. So the reality is that most successful firms in government contracting did not get a NASA or DoD contract right out the gate. Most people think that's how you start, you know, with these big, lofty contracts. It's not, all right? It takes time, all right? Like I told you, it is a long game. You have to prove yourself. Once you prove yourself capable of managing what you have, they will give you more. So they follow the tried and true path of small business. So start local, build past performance, all right? Building your name, developing a niche is very, very important. We'll talk about that in your capability statements later on. And I'm sure Lewis will be elaborating on that. That's coming up very shortly. So take advantage of teaming of subcontractors. You don't always have to be in competition with people. Sometimes you can be in collaboration with them, and that makes a difference for your business. If you are a sub for a larger contractor and you have a great relationship with them, you start one and you maintain it and develop it, other people will look at you in the industry and ask you for, you know, for your help and to team with them and do jobs. So work their way up to larger contracts. So I would say start off small and work your way up. Don't bite off more than you can chew initially, all right?
Let me address some of that, George.
Sure.
There are some industries, you're a construction company, for example, correct? And the idea is to be the prime contractor. The prime is the contractor that has a contract directly with the government. In that industry, your subcontractors, more often than not, are going to be pay as paid. In other words, they don't get paid until you get paid. So it behooves, you know, you greatly to be a prime contractor in that case, because literally you're doing this work with all these subcontractors, which if that's what you are, you're going to be doing the work at your expense and waiting until the prime contract gets paid. And those contracts are written as such that you're not getting paid until the prime contractor gets paid. There's a lot of reasons why that prime contractor might not get paid in a timely manner. And that's harder for us subcontractor, usually being a small business, to carry. Another big advantage in construction, I won't be concentrating on construction today, but just so happens, the prime contractor only needs to self-perform, meaning they only need to do between, well, more than at least 15%. They only need to self-perform 15%, meaning that they could subcontract 85% of that work. Well, now you can imagine yourself not doing anything but, for example, the contract management, if that's all you want to do. And subcontract these jobs out really at the expense of the subcontractor. And the first tier subcontractor only needs to self-perform 25%. So you hire HVAC, electrical, plumbing, or whatever it is, they could actually subcontract to the second tier 75% of that work. And what this does, and I'm using again construction as an example, then we work in many industries a bit differently because In many industries, you have to self-perform 51%, and that's in services. In products, you don't have to self-perform anything. You could be a total pass-through. In other words, you buy and you sell to the government, and everybody wants to do what's easiest, but what's easiest usually has the most competition. And the federal government deals with the major manufacturers and extremely large companies, very competitive. Again, like George said earlier, you have a niche. George's about to talk about past performance here, and past performance is really measured in different ways. One is, do you have the experience? And that's, noted by previous jobs. And then the other way is the federal government actually keeps, remember that permanent report card they used to talk about? Well, this is a permanent report card. It's from something called CPARS, and it's a rating system. And they'll rate you on dozens of different items, everything from cost to timeliness to everything you can imagine, really. And it gives you a score. Maintaining a high score at CPARS is key to maintaining a high past performance. But I'll always go back to every industry is so very, very, very different, and every situation is so very, very different. And I'll give another example, later. I'll let George continue.
Yeah, so Lewis, he basically brought out some very pertinent points there in terms of government contracting, things to definitely consider. His experience is tremendous in this area, and his advice is highly respected. So very, very important things to really take into account. So procurement officials use this as one of the most relevant factors when considering awards for contracts. Your past performance, it's a clear indicator of what your future performance will be, and it only just makes sense. If it's not broke, the rule of thumb is don't fix it. So if a person's doing well, that could be you, the person who's doing so well that they want to continue giving you more contracts. That's who you want to be. We want to help you be that business. So past performance is information regarding a contractor's actions under previous contracts and orders. It is used as an indicator, like I previously stated. I'm having some screen share malfunctions.
No, we can see. We lost your presentation, George.
You did? Okay. All right. Let me try to.
All right. Luckily, we have plenty of stuff to fill in between the
So
lines.
I think I'm where I need to be at. Okay. So there we go. So teaming is very important. Like I said to you earlier, sometimes it's not about having a competition, it's about having a collaboration. You may offer things to the prime contractor that they don't have, like diversity, or that women-owned business component, or that veteran component. These are also unique components of what primes are looking for and partnership. And through that, you can start off really small and end up really big, like the prime contractor that you'll be assisting. So it allows you to pool resources, management abilities, and technical knowledge with other small businesses to seek and secure and perform on government contracts. So pooling resources is critically important, and I think it certainly helps in the process. Joint ventures as well. Although joint ventures agreements are often spoken of in the same breath as prime subcontract teaming agreements, these two are very different. So in a different venture, two or more companies come together, usually by forming a new separate entity to jointly perform a government contract at the prime contract level. Like I said previously, and Lewis has mentioned to you, selecting the right prime can also help you become a prime yourself. So starting off small and going big, what you want to make sure you don't do is bite off more than you can chew. And one of the ways you can ensure success is by teaming up with a successful prime who has a track record of success. If you can attach yourself to them and offer some type of value, you have an opportunity at building your portfolio of work and government contracts. By doing so, it'll enable you to maybe go after even bigger contracts. The most important thing is you want to build a resume of experience and you want to build a portfolio of past performance. So joint venture requirements must be met in order to comply with local procurement regulations, which can include self-performance requirements and past qualifications and proof of small business size and status, among other things. So next to our next slide, local government contracting. Now that we covered some of the common terms, let's get into how to search for opportunities and how to use targeting to narrow down your search. So there are some websites that can assist you with doing so. There's a website, I believe it's called Pinterest. This website was called BidSync at one time. And there's a new name of the contract, or the new name of the website. So these are the 67 counties within Miami-Dade County. There's 67 counties within the state of Florida. And we have about 32 cities within Miami-Dade County. All these cities, they offer different services, and they're always releasing solicitations for bid. So there's opportunities with local governments. My recommendation is if you want federal contracts, to start off local or state and then branch off into federal contracting. So opportunities are there, they do exist, and it's just really a matter of finding the one that's right for you. So Miami-Dade issues all type of competitive solicitations, BidSync, electronic bidding system. There's no charge for vendors. I would say some of the sites that have the most, the more information, they may require you to pay a little small nominal fee. I'll be the first to tell you it is worth it, okay? The more information you get, the better off you are in this process. Bear with me for just a second. Trying to get to our next slide. All right, so every city municipal government has their own procurement process. Some of them may accept the same certifications, but every entity, like the city of Miami, city of Miami Beach, they have their own process. Get familiar with their process, register with each entity that you are interested in doing business with, and learn about their contracting process, all right? We'll talk about pre-bid meetings and different ways you can learn more about contracting opportunities further into our presentation. How to use targeted to identify your ideal opportunities. So targeting is very important. So first, start your search by reviewing opportunities by your industry, all right? Reviewing opportunities by your industry is going to be critically important for what you're doing. Then start refining the search by your unique advantages of the niche, okay? So what kind of niche do you have? What kind of experience do you have? How do you fit into this equation? What's going to make you stand out to the screening and review committee? Next, look forward, forecast or back past awards to get smart on what agencies have spent or are projecting to spend. What I would recommend you do, and this is not in my presentation, but this is just one of the little secrets I have implemented myself. Now, I don't tell people this normally, but if you can keep the secret today, I'll tell you, all right? So develop a contract matrix. And what that is essentially identifying contracting opportunities that you want, that you like from previous award bids. Now, these are contracts that are already underway and you haven't got a piece of that pie, but you like that contract. That's the one you aspire to have. Start studying it now. Okay, study that contract. Find out, when is that contract up for bid again? It may be a year, it may be 2 years out. You want to know that information. Also, you want to find out, well, who got that award contract? How do you do that? Request for information, okay? Under Request for Information, Freedom of Information Act, you can find out who got that bid. Now you can review the winning contract. You can also look, scope of services. Let's see what they put in their scope of services. You can look at what kind of numbers they put into the contract as well. Understanding this information and the nuances of what's in that award-winning contract can help you position yourself next time the contract comes around to be successful at winning the contract. Also, You don't want to be number 57 or number 58 in the contracting pool. You want to be that that entrepreneur that the screening and review committee knows. Okay, why and how are they going to know you? You're going to go to the pre-bid meetings. You're going to learn and listen about what's going on at these meetings. I'll be quite honest. If you go to a pre-bid meeting before the contract's released, you're already behind the 8 ball. If you're going there to really learn more about it, you should already know everything you need to know before the pre-bid meeting is held, because you've done due diligence. You've gone out there, you researched that past contract 2 years ago or a year ago. You've looked at who was awarded the contract. You know what numbers they came in at. You know their scope of services. You got all this information you've been on within your head, and now you're ready to be competitive in the process. And I think, people respect diligence. If you did your research, you did your hard work, the people on the screening review committee, they're going to know about it one way or another. It's going to be indicative in your proposal that you submit, based on the numbers, based on the scope of services, and based on your interactions with them as well. So targeting is very important. Look for key agencies, procurement contracts, upcoming requests for proposal workshops or vendor outreach events. These are the events where you learn more about what's happening. Now, as I told you previously, this is not a short game. This is a long-term play. It's going to take you a year, 2, maybe 3 to get where you want to be. It took me 2 years before I could get my first government contract. But since then, I haven't had any problems. All right. So there are certifications. They may give you some preference in the scoring for the screening review committee. Okay. So rather than you getting a 7 in this one area, you may get a 10 because now you have these certifications. And the higher your score is, the more likely you are to receive the contract. However, even if you have the highest score, it doesn't guarantee you'll win the contract. Past performance is critically important and plays a pivotal role in how the contracts are awarded and who they are awarded to. So that's what makes this so competitive. And that's why you have to do your research on those numbers, on those scope of services. What can you do that they didn't do, all right? It may be that one little small thing that they didn't mention it to those people, but that's something they wanted done, didn't get done. And now here you are proactively saying, hey, we can put that in there, all right, with those current numbers or with a small adjustment for inflation. So they must have an actual place of business in Miami-Dade County, and 3-year average gross receipts must be must not exceed the monetary threshold for small business in order for them to receive the contract. But Miami-Dade County, if you're in Miami-Dade County, they release a lot of contracts every year. I want to say they release a little over $1 billion in public service contracts every single year. And, so there's a lot of opportunity there. Certified Small Business Enterprise, SBE certifications certainly gives you a leg up. They actually have programs targeting SBEs with Miami-Dade County and other city municipal governments as well. So look into that, learn more about it, and get your consultation with one of our government contracting specialists or myself about small business. So the Disadvantaged Business Enterprise, the DBE.
Hey, George.
Go ahead, Louis.
I'm sorry. Before you move on to this section, can you go back a slide? Before you can apply for any of these, you have to have had your local business tax with Miami-Dade County for at least 1 year. That's something to keep in mind. You have to have your local business tax, a little paper that says LBT, for at least 1 year before you can apply for SBE. Miami-Dade County also has a list, probably about 200 or so pre-authorized vendor pools in different industries, meaning that they qualify you for one of those pools. And next time they need somebody in one of those pools, they have assigned budgets, they'll only contact the companies within that pool. And local companies have preference. And you'll note that in certain pools, you'll have varying amounts of non-local companies, but that speaks to your competition. So Miami-Dade County has those pre-authorized pools. In the federal system, you might recognize those as GSA schedules, General Service Administration schedules, where they basically do the same thing. They pre-qualify companies, and a lot of different procurement vehicles do that, like a purchase agreement, indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity vehicles. All of those systems are designed to make the contracting officers' life easier, because if they had to go to market every time they had to buy something, it would be unmanageable. So they qualify companies in these different areas via these different procurement vehicles. And those are the kind of things that we would look at, in capture management for federal contracting. The disadvantaged business enterprise certification George is about to talk about, that's actually a federal program operated by Florida Department of Transportation. If you're in anything to do with transportation, that could be, roads, lighting, it could be industry. Then yeah, DBE makes sense, but more importantly, DBE makes sense because it's recognized as a small business certification throughout a minimum the state of Florida. And that's beneficial to you as a small business because many of these large companies have supplier diversity programs. But in order to be recognized as a small business, you have to have a certification. And unless you have an SBE or an NBE from Florida or another type of an AA, which I didn't recommend one we get now, a DBE is a very, very useful certification to prove you're a small business. Thanks, George.
Thank you, Louis. And those are some very important points that he made. Make sure you have your paperwork in order, and that way you can be successful. And this is why having an expert like Louis talk to you one-on-one about what your plans are is very important. Strategy-wise, you need to know how to position yourself to move and be successful. So DBEs, those certifications, certification is a federal program that ensures equal opportunity in transportation contracting markets. So the program addresses the effects of discrimination in transportation contracting and promotes increased participation in federally funded contracts by small, socially, economically disadvantaged businesses, including minority and women-owned businesses. So ladies, this is for you as well. And ladies is the fastest growing sector of entrepreneurs. Women-owned businesses. So the local development business, so LDB is a gender and race neutral program for small businesses that have non-existing permits and provide general aeronautical services to commercial airlines. So that's also one. I won't really go into that as much because I don't think it's as relevant to everyone who's here today. But it is something that I wanted to bring to your attention and point out as well. So each city has their own criteria in terms of what your grocery sheet should be, and also the size of your staff to qualify. So business development, let's talk about that. Let's talk about the money, all right? So because development is critically important. And when I say development, I mean, how you network. Okay, your network will determine your net worth. And who do you talk to? What's your strategy behind talking to them? How can they help you get to where you're trying to be? These are all very important. As noted earlier, it's very important when pursuing government contracts to prepare. Okay, this is also applies to business development. Call it what you want: networking, outreach, marketing, making communications, making connections with different people. Whatever your term is, it is hustling to promote your business. That's what it's called for me. All right. So I'm a hustler, and I'll tell you that getting government contracts is a hustle. Right. You have to really work for it. You have to put a lot of energy out there in order to get one secured. But it has a lot to do with your understanding of how the contract is awarded, the numbers, the scope of services, and maybe even the people who are involved in the process. So as for previous awarded contracts, as I previously stated, take proposals and cost estimating classes, very important. If you're new and you're not good or experienced at cost estimating, if you underestimate the job and you're awarded the job, you'll be expected to perform. If you don't perform well because you don't have enough money to perform and make it profitable, you're out of business. And if you don't perform well because you don't have the right people, you're still out of business because they're not going to give you another contract, more than likely. So it's very important that if you're awarded a contract, you are ready to perform. So develop contracts or RFP matrix, as I previously stated, very, very important. If you do this legwork and this homework, it'll make you more prepared than your competition. Understand the RFP scoring process and the criteria. Who is scoring this? Okay, how are they scoring this? Okay, what are they looking for? All right, critically important. So there are 3 things you should have ready for when you attend vendor outreach events, RFP workshops, okay? Your capability statement, your elevator pitch, and your business card. So let me explain something to you. Your capability statement, it needs to be specific, okay? Also, your product codes, don't try to like select a million product codes. Just select like 3 to 5 or whatever your industry is. If you seem like you're all over the place, that you're just hungry for an opportunity, but you're not hungry for a specific opportunity with like a niche involved, they may think that you're all over the place. So you don't want to come off that way. So it's very important to make sure that you have your capability statement reviewed by someone else who's an expert who can give you assistance with everything. And Lewis is certainly capable of offering his insight in that respect. Also, your elevator pitch. You need to have a 30-second commercial when you meet a person. Who are you? What do you do? And how can they help you? You may not get another opportunity to talk to them, okay? It may be somebody who has enough influence to make sure you're awarded that contract. Or it may be one of those contracts, it's not necessarily a contract, but it's a vendor. What's the technical term for it, Lewis? When they award you like governmental contracts or services without going through the RFP process? It's like automatic.
Sole source.
Right. So those kind of contracts are awarded to businesses that have an excellent track record in terms of past performance. Sometimes the contract may not meet the threshold of something that's required to go out for bid. Okay, so for instance, I think the school board is $50,000. Anything less than that is not required to go out for bid. So you may be fed several of those contracts that are not required to go out for bid because of the relationship you have, because of your past performance, because you've been so successful at what you've done. So very important to have an elevator pitch, let people know who you are and what you need. There's no time to be acting timid, okay? Hi, my name is George, okay? Make sure that you prepare, all right? So you're not timid, you're not having any fright. It's natural to be nervous, but if you prepare, hey, my name is George, I'm an expert business consultant. I specialize in startups and franchising. I can help you in your business. I've helped many. I'd like to help you. Here's my card, thank you. That's my elevator pitch or my 30-second business commercial for whoever I'm meeting at that particular time. You need to be able to do the same. Have your business card ready as well. You want to come off as professional as possible. If you have a website or an email, you don't want, when you hand out your business card, you don't want your email to have a gmail.com or yahoo.com at the end of it. Make sure it has your company's name. Remember, having even a one-pager, okay, this is just a website with one page with your company's information, biographical history, and pretty much what you all do, or a capability statement. This stuff is very important. How you come off, how you appear, okay, is very important. Perception influences reality. So the perception is you have a Gmail. The reality is you're not going to do a good job servicing this contract. It can be just that simple. So make sure you show them what they want to see, okay, that professional appearance. My mother used to always tell me, son, it's not about how the food tastes sometimes, it's about how you make it look. So very, very important. It may taste good, but if it looks bad, nobody wants to eat it. So make sure you come off the right way. Make sure you you present yourself in the best light you can, because that's going to influence perception, and perception is going to influence reality, which is going to determine how many contracts you can be awarded. So a capability statement is basically the resume for your business. It is a concise one-page document of your business competencies. The purpose of the capability statement is to provide specific information that will convince potential customers to do business with you. So it's very important to have that chief marketing tool together. When written well, it will differentiate your business from the competition. Sometimes that means studying your competition, knowing how you separate yourself from them. So don't just study the contract, study your competition as well. You'll know how to position yourself against your competitors. So, I mean, we're not in competition with anybody, SPDC. You know, we offer one-on-one and individual consulting, but we have other organizations that are similar to ours. But what separates us from our competitors or from the people who do things similar to us? We offer one-on-one individual consulting. We do it at no cost. We try to walk you through the entire process. Good luck going to other organizations. I'm not knocking them, but it's just an example of what separates you from your competitors. So if you approach that from the same perspective in business with government contracts, you need to research who are the people who are doing things similar to you and what separates you from them. So what separates us from SCORE? We offer one-on-one individual consulting. It's a no-brainer. So there's really, in my opinion, no organization that does what we do and how we do it. I think we're really successful at it. And we have a team, a real big team. So we have scale. We can not just help a few people, but a lot of people. And that's something else that makes us very unique. So you can use those same analogies I'm using to differentiate SPDC from other organizations that want to help small business and do the same thing with your company. What separates you from these other subcontractors? You have a unique niche in engineering, or it may be you hire only veterans, or you hire only women, single mothers or something. I don't know, but how do you stand out amongst everybody else? It could be something involving technology, past performance, or your human capital. Those are great ways to create a niche. And people typically, they gravitate towards those things if they like them. So a capability statement should have the following key points: core competencies, facilitate equipment, expertise, company information, certifications, past performance, etc. One page, use both sides if necessary. It's a bifold. So your capability statements are critically important. And here are some websites you can review to look at capability statements. And I would also recommend you speak to the Master of Government Contracting at SPDC for FIU, who is Mr. Luis Bautista. He is the man when it comes down to this government contracts, particularly federal contracts. He has more knowledge than your average consultant does in this particular area here. So he is, he's there to help. So what if you suddenly find yourself on an elevator with the contracting officer, an elected official, a prime contractor, or some other potential customer? You got to be ready. All right. So you got to have your elevator speech together so you can stand out. Are you ready to quickly and professionally describe the solution you present and the expertise you can deliver? Got to be ready. You don't have to be the best public speaker or a master hustler, but you should be prepared to deliver your elevator speech. All right. Be engaging. All right. Now, everybody's not good at networking and elevator, pitches and things like that. I'll be honest. However, if you want to be good at government contracts, you're going to have to be good at that, or you're going to have to at least start. All right. So my recommendation is to practice on your elevator pitch a few times. You may want to refine it as well. People don't have all day when they meet you. It may only literally be 15 to 30 seconds. What are you going to say in that time to make you memorable, to make you stand out, to get them to want to do business with you? It may define your success. I'll give you an example, personal example. So I own a process serving company. We serve people legal notice when you're being sued. And I met this attorney. And this is when I was in the startup process for my business. I met this attorney. I told him he had a nice tie, which was true. He had a nice tie. And you can tell he had some money because of the suit he had on. hand him my card, shook his hand, told him who I was. The elevator door closed. That entire week, I felt like I was defeated because I wasn't really getting any sales. And I just felt like what I was doing was kind of hopeless. I almost wanted to give up and throw in the towel. Well, it took about 2 months, but that attorney finally called me up 2 months later. When I forgot all about him, when I just thought all hope was lost for my business, he calls me up. And the first call was a $5,000 phone call in terms of business. The second call was an $8,000 phone call. And it just went on and on and on from there. So that meeting I had with him had a far and exceeding impact in terms of the influence I had over him at that time. He didn't tell me no. He said maybe. That's all I need to know was the maybe. That maybe in my head was a no, I'll be honest. However, he kept his word. That maybe was I'll call you in 2 months and I'm gonna be the guy who's gonna remind you why you've been working so hard, why you've been networking and doing this, basically, marketing, okay, guerrilla marketing. That's what I was doing, shaking hands. I think guerrilla marketing is still the most effective way of communications. Seeing someone, speaking to them, telling them who you are and what you do. You got to find out what you have in common with them, how to identify with them. It could be because they have family, they have little kids. I don't know what it could be, what they got on. You may share the same hobby. You have to find a way to connect with people and introduce yourself to them. They're not gonna run to you, all right? So if you are wondering why haven't you got a government contract yet, you haven't done enough research. Maybe you're not hungry enough. But eventually, if you continue to be persistent and you do the right things that are required, you should achieve some level of success. So your elevator speech truly, I think it has an influence on the perception people have of who you are and your company. So every word you say, it needs to matter. And when you hand them your business card, it needs to matter, all right? Everything you say in your pitch, all right? Some people, they'll gravitate towards you because you're a veteran, because you're a family-owned business, okay? For different reasons. So find out what your niche is, what separates you and makes you special, and market that. Who and what are you? What do you specialize in? What you do? Why you're the best at what you do, okay? How do you separate yourself from the competitors? All very important. So I won't belabor why elevator speeches are so important anymore, but I think you kind of get the point by now. So make sure it is conversational, okay? Avoid sounding like a robot or this has been rehearsed. Make sure it's all natural. It comes across that way, all right? Speak from your heart. But make sure you have your facts together in terms of who you are and what separates you from everybody else. The more sense of awareness you're able to show, the more ability to show you have full command of what the problems are and that you're the person to fix those problems, the more confident you'll come off to the people who you meet. It may be at the pre-bid meeting. You may see people from the screening review committee. They'll appear at the pre-bid meeting. You may be able to research their information prior to the bid being released. You may want to follow them on LinkedIn or something. I don't know. Whatever you got to do to get the contract within reason, which is ethical, okay? After the contract's released, you can't speak to them. There is a cone of silence, and which means they can't interact with you typically or answer any questions pertaining to that contract once the pre-bid meeting has been conducted. The pre-bid meeting is conducted to invite the public in to basically explain to them what the contract is, the scope of services, and what they're looking for before you're required to submit your bids. So I would say exercise. Who can give me an elevator pitch on their company? So make sure you are ready, okay? It takes a while to really do an elevator pitch. And to be honest, I've always had like 3 elevator pitches, depending on who I'm pitching to. One size doesn't fit all shoes. So you can't do it the same elevator pitch on everybody because people think differently, all right? You need to first find out what's important to the person you're getting ready to do your pitch to. And your first few words need to incorporate what's important to them. Okay, so, if you are a construction company and you're small and you have a niche in doing, let's say, sidewalks and shelling work, you have a prime contractor. Hi, my name's George, and I have a really small company. We're interested in being a subcontractor. We specialize in concrete restoration and molding, shelling work. And we know that the prime is going to need a sub similar to us with our past performance and work history. It'll be a pleasure to meet you and sit down and talk to you more about what we do. Here's my card. Hopefully we can set up a meeting pretty soon. Do you have one on you? And that's it, 30 seconds. The person knows who I am, what I do, what I specialize in, and how I can be of benefit to them. The most important thing is people are selfish. They want to know what's in it for them. So it's important for you to let them know who you are and why interacting with you is so important. What's in it for them? So you don't want to tell them directly, hey, what's in it for them verbatim like that, but you have to find a way to basically show your value to people when you introduce yourself to them. You could tell them a million things, but if it's not the thing that's important to them, that, what's in it for them kind of a thing, it's not really going to get their attention as much, okay? So me, I would tell attorneys, hey, I'm a process server. I'm an expert at this. I know you're tired of those lazy process servers who never get your work done. Well, my service is fast and reliable. We don't really advertise our business. We do everything by word of mouth. Here's my card. We're big enough for some of the major firms around town, so we're big enough to service you. Thank you, have a good day. And I get phone calls. So very important to know how to market yourself. Some people, they have a little nervousness about marketing themselves, but with government contracts, you're gonna be your chief marketer, okay? So interacting with people, your network will determine your net worth in this kind of arena. So government expos and trade shows are also places to meet prospects. As noted previously, federal, state, and local contracts don't always just sit behind a desk. They do outreach on contract opportunities and to attract vendors. So make sure you engage with contracting officers to see who can assist you. Should you attend these events? Should you only attend if you are ready to do the proper presentation? So I would say, if you're not ready to do the proper presentation, still attend. Take notes. One day you will be ready, and that's when you should start speaking about things. Until then, I would not try to speak to people about things until I'm ready, all right? Because they may develop the wrong perception. And the first meeting typically develops a person's perception of who you are, unless you show them something different. And you may not have time to do that. So first, choose the right event. Time is money. And if you are attending this event, you are not doing something else that could grow your business. So make sure you spend your time wisely. The one thing we can't get back in life is time. And in business, time is money. So next, do not attend an event if you are not ready to do your research beforehand. Research key contracts. What do you want to get out of it? Or do proper follow-up. If you go in a pre-bid meeting and you ask the most unintelligent questions, it's gonna basically let everybody there know you're not ready and you're not their competition. And if there's anybody in that pre-bid meeting from a screening review committee, they're gonna remember everything you said. And if your contract comes across their desk, it's probably gonna be put in the no pile, okay? So make sure that you represent yourself very well in the process, all right? First impressions are lasting ones. So research what do you want to get out of this, or do proper follow-up, detailed emails, key contracts, and follow-up through what you discuss. Listen, a lot of contracting officers, it's almost like a little challenge. Same thing with consultants, to be quite honest. They'll tell you to do something very small, very simple, and say, oh, well, do this for me and get back with me. And if you don't do that, and if you don't do it in a timely manner, you know what that means to them? You're not serious. So why should I be about helping you? So make sure that you, follow up and do what's required when asked. So 14 tips on better expos or trade shows. So I won't go through all these tips because I know you know some of them, but we'll go through a few. So establish some objectives for yourself. What do you hope to accomplish by attending? State this in concrete, quantifiable terms. Think about the specific kind of opportunities you want to go after and be prepared to explain how you represent a solution to the government contracting objectives. Identify who is going to be in attendance and research in advance as much as you can about who will be there and those persons who you want to meet. And it doesn't say this, but strategically place yourself in the room where they're going to be, all right? So why are they going to show? Align your objectives with their objectives. So game out the location, the venue, attendance, and event details to envision how you will use it to best accomplish your goal, all right? Don't be shy, all right? The government contracts are not coming to you. You got to go get those, all right? If you don't try to go get it, guess what? Somebody else is. Be prepared with marketing material, include business cards, brochures, products, fact sheets, product samples, portfolios, detailed capability statements. Be ready. Be prepared to talk about pricing. You may not need to, but be prepared just in case someone asks. Be ready for any weather conditions, all right? Related to the business, any questions they ask you, be prepared to answer those questions, all right? You're ready for all seasons, all right? Begin to envision how your competitors at the show can potentially partner as a result of the show. Everybody's not your competition. Some people you need to collaborate with, all right, for you to get to where you're going. Also, use your elevator pitch. It is the most powerful marketing tool you have besides your capability statement and your website. I would say grow on the people, all right? Because it's hard. I mean, it's easy to tell somebody no when you're typing an email or tell them no on a letter or through a text message. But when you see them in person, you add the human component to them. If they have any heart that beats, it's going to be hard to tell you no. It's going to be hard not to help you, particularly if you come off the right way. You come off like you're ferociously hungry and you're ready. You're prepared for this opportunity, all right? People are going to remember that. You may get denied right away your first time. All that means is keep going. And the next time you'll succeed. Or it could be, another try after that. I'm going to continue going through these, but what I'll tell you also is that don't be discouraged, all right? Because this is a highly competitive thing. Not everybody is made for this. You got to understand the assignments, okay? And that requires you to do due diligence and research and not bite off more than you can chew. But also, it requires you to develop relationships, networks, make sure your capability statements are together, your marketing is together to make sure that you're really ready and prepared for this, all right? So if you get denied in the infancy stages of you attempting to get government contracts, it's probably the best thing for you. And it probably means you're just not ready yet. But it doesn't mean you can't be ready. It doesn't mean you can't be successful. It just means you have to continue trying. So dress to impress, wear comfortable shoes. Don't go to the event if you're unprepared, all right? What I mean by that, if you're not dressed the right way, if you haven't done enough research, make sure you do those things, okay? So at the show, learn from your competitors. How many are there? What are they selling? What is their marketing strategy? Any mistakes can you learn from, all right? Very, very important. Follow up in the most critical parts, gather business cards, write follow-up notes and emails promptly. Set up follow-up meetings, conference calls if possible. Write yourself a report on lessons learned. Review these reports before planning participants in other events. Essentially, make sure that you're ready, all right? You cannot cheat the game. The game knows how much work you put into it when it comes to government contracts, all right? How you come off is how you will be perceived. So make sure you practice on doing things that will improve your opportunities of coming off like the person who deserves the new and next opportunity for government contracts. Additional communication tips. Be aware that there are periods of time when communication with government contractors is inappropriate. And it's as a result of the cone of silence. And we'll talk about the cone of silence. The cone of silence, however, may be appropriate to initiate contracts with the CO after the comment period on a solicitation has closed or when bid proposals are under evaluation. So at that point, the contracting officer may tell you something that gives you a competitive advantage over someone else. That's why they're precluded from speaking to anybody about anything related to the contract. Now, they may not do it intentionally. It may be unintentional, but they may be doing it to help you because you called and you asked them questions that are pertaining to the contract. So to prevent any of that from happening, they have what's called the cone of silence for that particular reason. So individual solicitation documents usually spelled out that proper communication protocols. So look for guidance, all right? Make sure that you're not doing anything inappropriate or will jeopardize your opportunity of being successful in obtaining government contracts. The most important thing is research. The more research you do, the better off you are. I don't know why I'm getting stuck here. Where am I at the end? I think I'm at the end. Oh boy. Let's see here. All right, I'm gonna stop sharing for just a second here. All right, my apologies. I'm not really sure why that happened, but it happens sometimes. So bonus meetings, follow-up tips, very, very important. Make sure you do due diligence, make sure you follow up. Do your homework about the contracting officers, on the scope of services, when the contract's coming out, what type of numbers they're looking for, who's gonna be in the room at the pre-bid meetings, who is the contracting officers. You may wanna review who's on the screening committee. You may even know some of these people. So LinkedIn is a great resource. It lets you know who you know and who knows the people that you know, all right? So very important. You have to get a second chance to make a first impression, be professional, double and triple check for any typos. This is when having a SPDC consultant who specializes in government contracts really, really helps, okay? So take advantage of our free service. If you haven't signed up yet for SPDC Consult, it's free. So people don't really value the benefit of free as much as they should. That's why we don't really advertise ourselves as much. If you want us and you know how important we can be to you, you come to us and we help you. That's typically how it works. But we're at your ready, we're at your assistance. Thank you so much for your time with the presentation. We're nearing the end of the presentation. Please contact our center. Please make sure you take the feedback poll. Your feedback is very important to us. We value that. It helps us improve our presentations. Maybe I need to drink more water or something. If that's the feedback, let me know. We really want to help you with all seriousness. We are at your ready. And I would say one of the biggest takeaways from today's presentation is don't bite off more than you can chew when it comes to government contracts. Make sure you do your research. Make sure you position yourself to grow. And the best way to position yourself to grow is to take your time. When you're headed in the right direction, there is no need to rush. Take your time, get your capability statement together. Take your time, network, identify the people who you need to assist you, identify the people who make the decisions that can change what you're trying to accomplish. Identify prime contractors that you may be able to do business with, find out what they're looking for. Now, all this information I'm telling you, it may be overwhelming for you. That's why I'm telling you, it's gonna take time. This is not a short game, it's a long game. So take your time and get it all right. It may take you 6 months or a year or two to develop the right relationships, to meet the right people, to learn the right information, to review all the contracts before that contract is up for review again, before you're able to submit. But if you've done everything you need to do, chances are you'll be successful. One of the major benefits of receiving government contracts is if you do a good job, you continue to get those contracts. I'm a living testament of that. I'm proof of it. And if I can do it, so can you. Thank you so much for your time. Please register with our center and leave your feedback and comments in the comment section. We really appreciate you for being a part of what we're doing here. And I want to again thank Luis Bautista, our PTAC representative, Procurement Technical Assistance Center, and also Brianna Williams, our event manager, for making this presentation possible and providing the expert advice to make everything be successful. And also to our administrative team and our regional director, Brian Van Hook, Jesus Padilla, for all the work they're doing. So thank you again. Please register, and I hope to see you in one of my consulting sessions if I can be of assistance. But the person who you really want help from, Big Papi himself, Luis Bautista. So take care and thank you so much. If you have any questions, we'll take them now, or we'll go ahead and just end our presentation.
I think I've answered all the questions, George. Any other questions, please feel free to email them to us or email them to this address here to be forwarded to us. Pleasure seeing you, George, and I hope everybody has a nice afternoon.
Thank you, Louis. I'm looking forward to having a nice one, and hopefully they are as well. Hopefully you all learned something from this presentation that will help you be successful with government contracting. If I could be of assistance in the future, please contact SPDC at FIU. Register with the information on the screen here, and I'll be at your assistance. Thanks so much, and I'm going to go ahead and end the presentation.